Welcome to our Trump Briefing Show. Today, we've got some eye-opening news starting with a shocking incident where Senator Alex Padilla was forcibly removed and handcuffed during a Los Angeles press conference. High-profile Democrats are calling it an assault on democracy, as federal agents used force just for asking questions about immigration raids. This event highlights growing concerns about authoritarian tendencies under the current administration. Next up, in a display of national pride, preparations are underway for a massive military parade in Washington, D.C. celebrating the U.S. Army's 250th anniversary. Tanks, helicopters, and thousands of soldiers are getting ready for the big event, which also coincides with Flag Day and President Trump's birthday. It's a grand spectacle of military might and patriotic fervor, all meticulously organized to showcase the strength of the U.S. military. Finally, nationwide protests are brewing as over 2,000 No Kings demonstrations are planned across the country, including many in Florida. These peaceful protests aim to oppose what organizers see as increasing authoritarianism, militarization, and policies favoring the wealthy over communities. It's a bold call for democracy and civil rights, with citizens standing up to defend their freedoms. Please continue to stay tuned for more detailed coverage. The New York Times vividly captures a harrowing incident that has ignited widespread outrage. Senator Alex Padilla of California was forcibly removed from a Los Angeles federal building, handcuffed and pushed to the ground while merely attempting to ask questions during a press conference led by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. This shocking display of government force, documented on social media and condemned by prominent Democrats like Pete Buttigieg, signifies a profound breach of democratic norms. Buttigieg emphasized that the Trump administration's actions crossed a reddest of red lines, illustrating a disturbing escalation toward authoritarianism, especially as federal agents silenced a senator's oversight in a public space. Civil rights advocates and Democratic leaders swiftly denounced the incident, warning it symbolizes a dangerous suppression of dissent and a blatant disregard for constitutional freedoms, especially amid ongoing federal crackdowns on protests and military deployments in California that challenge state sovereignty and legal boundaries. The Toronto Star details the tragic case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, whose wrongful deportation has become emblematic of the Trump administration's aggressive immigration policies. Abrego Garcia, a Salvadoran citizen who had lived in the U.S. for over a decade, was mistakenly expelled in March despite a court order protecting him from deportation due to fears of gang persecution. His return to face human smuggling charges in Tennessee, based on a traffic stop, underscores the administration's controversial approach, charging him with serious crimes like trafficking and even linking him to murder, despite evidence suggesting the government's claims are exaggerated or unfounded. His legal team argues that these charges are an attempt to justify the wrongful deportation, which they describe as an administrative error, and highlight the broader issues of due process violations and the politicization of immigration enforcement, leading to the resignation of a U.S. attorney and ongoing legal battles over the administration's treatment of migrants. The Associated Press reports on the plight of Mahmoud Khalil, a Columbia University protester detained over his participation in anti-war demonstrations, whose case highlights the Trump administration's crackdown on free speech and political activism. Khalil, a legal U.S. resident, was arrested in Manhattan and held in immigration detention after participating in protests against the Gaza war, despite having committed no illegal acts during the demonstrations. His lawyers argue that his continued detention is unconstitutional and that the government missed critical deadlines to appeal court rulings ordering his release. The case has garnered national attention, with advocacy groups like the ACLU releasing emotional videos and messages calling for his immediate freedom, framing his detention as part of a broader effort to suppress dissent and silence voices critical of U.S. foreign policy. This incident exemplifies the administration's broader strategy of targeting activists and non-citizens involved in political protests, raising urgent questions about the erosion of civil liberties under the current political climate. According to the Toronto Star, the deployment of approximately 200 Marines into Los Angeles marks a significant escalation in federal efforts to secure property and personnel amid ongoing protests. These Marines, trained extensively in civil disturbance response, are stepping into roles traditionally reserved for law enforcement, yet their mandate explicitly excludes participation in law enforcement activities. Their presence follows a federal court ruling challenging the legality of deploying National Guard troops, which California's Governor, Gavin Newsom, criticizes as an infringement on state sovereignty. The situation is further complicated by the broader context of protests over immigration raids, with some 2,000 National Guard troops already on the streets. Despite the tense atmosphere, recent demonstrations have remained largely peaceful, with only minor arrests and injuries, highlighting the delicate balance between security and civil liberties. Yahoo US reports that in a highly charged political environment, the United States witnessed a sharp divide over Israel's recent attack on Iran. Republican leaders, including Senate Majority Leader John Thune and House Speaker Mike Johnson, expressed strong support for Israel's actions, framing them as necessary measures to counter Iran's threats and defend democracy in the Middle East. Conversely, many Democrats criticized the strike, accusing Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of deliberately undermining diplomatic efforts to negotiate Iran's nuclear program. Democratic voices, such as Senators Chris Murphy and Tim Kaine, warned that the attack could ignite a regional war and jeopardize ongoing diplomatic negotiations, emphasizing the risks of escalation. The timing of the strike amid U.S. political turmoil has intensified concerns about regional stability and the potential for broader conflict, with some arguing that it reflects deeper geopolitical tensions and partisan divides. The Yahoo US article also details a disturbing incident involving Senator Alex Padilla, who was forcibly removed and handcuffed during a press conference by federal agents, an act described as an assault on democracy itself. Padilla's detention, which occurred while he was peacefully seeking answers about federal actions in California, symbolizes the alarming erosion of civil liberties under the current administration. Critics argue that this aggressive suppression of dissent exemplifies a broader pattern of authoritarian tendencies, with federal agencies acting as instruments of political power rather than protecting constitutional rights. The incident has sparked outrage, with many viewing it as a warning sign of the dangers posed by the administration's willingness to silence opposition through force, raising fears about the future of democratic institutions in America. The Associated Press vividly captures the meticulous preparations for President Donald Trump's military parade in Washington, D.C., commemorating the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. The images depict soldiers unloading tanks and combat vehicles at rail yards, setting up security fencing around iconic landmarks like the U.S. Capitol and the White House, and staging military hardware such as Stryker vehicles and Black Hawk helicopters in West Potomac Park. Soldiers are seen engaging in leisure activities like softball games amid the heavy security measures, highlighting the scale of the event. The parade involves up to 5,000 soldiers quartered in government buildings, with military assets transported from bases across the country, including Texas, to showcase the nation's military prowess. The scene is a blend of disciplined military logistics and the grandeur of a national celebration, all orchestrated to coincide with Trump's 79th birthday and Flag Day, emphasizing the event's patriotic significance. Yahoo US narrates a dramatic incident during a Los Angeles news conference where Senator Alex Padilla was forcibly removed by federal agents after attempting to ask Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem a question about immigration enforcement and recent raids. The scene unfolded in a tense and contentious atmosphere, with Padilla, a son of Mexican immigrants, being pinned to the ground and handcuffed as he sought to voice his concerns. Reactions from across the political spectrum were swift and polarized. Democratic leaders condemned the treatment of Padilla, calling it a horrifying assault on democratic norms, while the White House and Homeland Security officials dismissed the incident as political theater and justified the force used, citing security concerns. The event underscores the deep political divisions over immigration policies and federal authority, illustrating how a simple act of questioning can escalate into a national controversy, reflecting broader tensions about government accountability and civil liberties. Yahoo US also reports on the widespread "No Kings" protests planned across Florida and the US on June 14, aligning with Flag Day, Trump's birthday, and the Army's anniversary celebration. Organized by a coalition including the ACLU, Move On, and other civil rights groups, these protests aim to oppose what they see as authoritarian overreach, militarization of democracy, and policies targeting immigrants. Over 80 protests are registered in Florida alone, with locations spanning cities and towns nationwide, emphasizing a mass mobilization against perceived government overreach. The protests are framed as a peaceful demonstration to defend democracy, with participants rallying against the use of military force in urban areas, healthcare cuts, and immigration enforcement actions. This movement reflects mounting public dissent and a collective effort to challenge the direction of current federal policies, symbolizing a significant moment of civil activism coinciding with national celebrations. The Associated Press reports that the Metropolitan Opera experienced a slight decline in attendance during the spring season, with ticket sales falling to 72% capacity from the projected 75%, largely due to the Trump administration's immigration crackdown coinciding with a drop in tourism to New York City. General Manager Peter Gelb attributed the disappointing sales in the last 2 months to a significant decrease in international visitors, who now account for only 11% of sales compared to the previous projection of 16%, and a pre-pandemic level of about 20%. The city's tourism body had also cut its 2025 international visitor forecast by 17%. Despite efforts to sell tickets at discounts, the Met realized only 60% of potential income, down from 64%, with new ticket buyers decreasing from 85,000 to 76,000 and the average age of single-ticket purchasers remaining at 44. Subscription sales plummeted from 12 to 15% before the pandemic to just 7%, reflecting economic uncertainty and stock market volatility affecting consumer confidence. Meanwhile, the Met's financials show a revenue increase for music director Yannick Nezet-Seguin, who earned over $2 million, and a stable salary for Gelb, with assets declining by approximately $40 million to $467 million due to pandemic-related endowment draws. The season's most popular productions included Mozart's The Magic Flute and Verdi's Aida, both selling 82% of tickets, along with new works like Jake Heggie's Moby Dick, and popular revivals such as Tosca and La Boheme, though some productions like Strauss' Die Frau und Schatten and Verdi's Rigoletto lagged behind in ticket sales. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.
Turn the lights on screen. What's the latest scene? Just you and me, laugh and disagree. On the couch we sit, talk about the hits, news and bits and bits, chat through all the fits. 6 degree chess, gotta talk about that. Blind crazy chat, share where we're at. From molecular change to the world's big stage, everything's fair game under our spotlight's flame. Grab a coffee quick, get your hot takes thick. We're here